Oscar Wilde once defined a cynic as someone who knows the price of everything and the value of nothing. It is a precise description of our oldest cultural villain, the miser. We know the faces of greed well: King Midas locked in his vault, Ebenezer Scrooge freezing in his counting house, Silas Marner hiding in his stone pit. On paper, these men have won the game of life. They have conquered their basic human needs. They generate surplus, they own no debts, and they have achieved absolute material independence from the world around them. But their absolute material security doubles as a self-made psychological prison. Gratification is an emotional trap, a bottomless container. You pour in an endless stream of wealth, but it never satisfies the hunger. Watch as this shifts into a cycle of nourishment. It doesn't rely on accumulation, but a self-replenishing source of emotional wholeness. The miser's tragedy lies in the confusion of these two states. They spend their lives attempting to satisfy a hunger for connection with a diet of gold. If we open their case files, we find the miser's behavior is less about greed and more about survival. The gold acts as a bandage over old scars. Ebenezer Scrooge endured a lonely, neglected childhood, shadowed by the real-world anxiety of falling into poverty and ending up in a Victorian debtor's prison. Silas Marner was unjustly condemned as a thief, leading to a shattering exile from the tight-knit religious community that had given his life meaning. Both men built their lives around what they could count because they feared what they couldn't. They sought shelter from the vast, unpredictable realm of human emotion and mystery, a space psychologists call the numinous. The miser perceives the numinous as an existential threat. You cannot quantify love. You cannot control loyalty. You cannot predict betrayal or abandonment. Hoarding, countable, littable littles, is a rational defense mechanism against this threat. The miser builds a fortress against unpredictable pain. This defense mechanism relies on a grand illusion, the belief that total isolation and absolute self-reliance are the only true paths to personal freedom. But look at the trap this creates. When you use boundaries to block out the world, you sever those connections entirely. The boundaries harden into barricades. Because nothing new can enter this closed system, the miser's emotional state stops growing. It begins to calcify. Outwardly, this mindset manifests as extreme objectification. King Midas views the people around him not as humans with intangible needs, but as tools and accessories used strictly to elevate his own image. Absolute self-reliance inevitably devolves. What starts as self-preservation tips over into pure materialism and narcissism. In their quest to perfectly protect their heart from being broken, the miser succeeds. But in doing so, they create a cold, dead, and empty world where they are the sole prisoner. The miser's fortress is impenetrable from the inside. The literal value system must be broken from the outside, forcing a collapse of the ego. Scrooge experiences a supernatural intervention. Ghosts drag him through time, forcing him to witness the grim societal consequences of his isolation, embodied in the terrifying forms of ignorance and want. Marner experiences a physical intervention. His hoarded gold is stolen in the night. That sudden, agonizing vacuum is filled when a golden-haired toddler named Epi wanders into his home. This chart visualizes the psychological cure, individuation. It requires bringing together the tangible needs of the ego and the intangible connections of the collective, creating a balanced whole. After this integration, Scrooge assumes responsibility for Tiny Tim. Silas Marner builds a family. They demonstrate that human connection is more vital than hidden coins. The miser archetype survives into the 21st century because it serves as a warning about our own defense mechanisms. We have to ask ourselves what gold we are currently hoarding. It might be actual money, it might be social status, or simply be emotional distance, kept on reserve to protect ourselves from vulnerability. Genuine wealth is found in the courage required